There's no name more synonymous with YouTube than Pewdiepie. Felix Schellberg has successfully cemented himself as one of the most important people in contemporary culture. Initially seen as another passing fad amongst a pantheon of other popular faces, his meteoric rise defied all expectations, pushing him to the #1 spot on YouTube. His stardom has earned him appearances in news outlets of every caliber, as well as on legacy media, where shows like South Park have tapped into his brand.
I'm going dun 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 dun.
With that has also come a long list of controversies. Both office chairs and bridges have suffered from his slips of tongue, not to mention controversial endorsements, being targeted by the FTC, and even being name-dropped during a major tragedy. Most people don't really know just how many controversies he's had since he began his term at the helm of the site. Once you look at it all, it's impressive to see that he's even managed to stick around this long. But, due to his massive catalog of content, it's rare that anyone has tried to document Felix's decade-long tale. So, here I am. This is the story of how Pewdiepie maintained his empire.
I mean, my name is Pewdiepie! Like every fucking video! Bros, I'm gonna be on South Park.
Everyone tweet now if you want to get rid of Pewdiepie!
This show is getting kind of boring, bros. What do you say we change it up to something more exciting?
Meme review.
Nice try, Wall Street Journal.
Does Pewdiepie even play games anymore? What a fucking Remember to bing that button! Bing it! That's what I'm fucking talking about, bitch.
Gothenburg, Sweden is a relatively large city located on the country's western coast. With a population of more than 500,000, it serves as an important seaport for the country, and as the headquarters for Volvo automobiles. It's also the birthplace of our subject, who joined us in 1989. But he wouldn't start using the internet in any serious capacity until around 2006, when he started his first YouTube channel. He titled it Pewdie, as a play on the onomatopoeia for the sound of a laser. While people had been talking about video games and recording themselves playing video games for years, the release of Call of Duty: Modern Warfare in 2007 was an important turning point. It brought first-person shooters to a contemporary setting, and simultaneously, due to the popularization of services like Xbox Live and Skype, a community was created around the game in a way that every other Call of Duty had failed to do up until this point. This was then brought to a number of forums, as well as video sharing platforms, namely YouTube. Names like CNanners and Hutch became synonymous with Call of Duty at the time, with the people behind them becoming some of the first to successfully monetize their gaming passions online. Felix was heavily inspired by both of these people, wanting to recreate their success and have his own fun posting Call of Duty commentary videos. His interest in the platform as a whole stemmed largely from a desire to express himself, both artistically and socially. Felix grew up passionate in creation with Photoshop. At the same time, he was largely introverted and withheld during his teenage years, gravitating primarily towards video games as a result, but with an ever-present desire to be himself to the outside world, much like the figures he'd come to know on YouTube. However, upon entering college for a degree in industrial economic and technology management, Felix's desire for an outlet grew substantially. He had pursued avenues such as developing and selling his Photoshop art and stated how much he preferred this over his education. But having had his attention drawn to YouTube from creators he looked up to, this medium piqued his interest even more. With an increasing desire for expression, he created his own content actively for a period, apparently still struggling with his anxiety. Felix later stated he was too shy to speak in his first video. Nevertheless, he persisted. He fell in love with the platform and the feedback he got, making him comfortable enough to gradually open up. However, his early time on YouTube did not earn him very much success. There didn't appear to be any clear path forward beyond a simple hobby, especially with his education as an active commitment. As the stagnation continued, in 2007 turned into 2008, and then 2009, his interest began to wane, especially when the feedback and viewer interaction he enjoyed was extremely scarce. He never got more than a handful of views on any of his uploads. and he also failed to accumulate any loyal audience, with less than 50 subscribers. At one point, he tried selling his content to Machinima in the hopes it would appreciate his videos and give him an audience to reach out, but to no avail. As time passed, he posted less and less, and by 2009, he was so inactive that he actually forgot his password. Despite this, his love for the platform remained, and under it all, there seemed to be some belief inside of him that he could succeed if he persisted.
A lot of people of my friends and friends that I met through YouTube, they treated me like I was a big shot on YouTube even before I had like 100 subs or whatever. But I felt that vibe since the beginning. I really did. So I felt like I had a lot to give and I was ready for it.
Felix eventually managed to remember the password for his old channel in 2010, at which point he removed all of his older videos and decided to create a new account, titled Pewdiepie. His return to content may have stemmed from his ever-increasing desire to express himself, which had resumed upon quitting the first time, especially since Felix's college career had begun to burden him with a variety of small problems, such as being disinterested in the subject materials and not feeling like he fit in among his peers. Little things that many may take for granted, like figuring out what to do during a 5-minute break between classes, became huge issues. Meanwhile, his true passion was forced into being a hobby he struggled to give proper time to. During his early content, he often expressed that his YouTube ventures had limitations as a result of his education.
There's a lot of effort needed to be put into the college I go to, and I just can't, right now with my last finals for the summer coming up in less than a month, I just can't put my hobby in front of that right now.
It wasn't a surprise that after growing dissatisfied with his priorities being as they were, he decided to say fuck it and leave, dropping out of his university. This was when he began to change focus and take his YouTube venture more seriously. With his parents unwilling to lend him aid while not enrolled in school, Felix doubled down and began consistently posting Let's Plays and trying to get that initial audience he needed, while keeping afloat in the meantime with a job at the harbor, and later a hot dog stand in his city. This period is often the hardest part of a YouTuber's career, trying to figure out what will get you that base group of viewers to make people interested in your content at all, instead of simply relying on view tourists. You need to have that initial sub base to grow, because the small but loyal audience tells you that you have some market potential. At this time, he received a promotion from a slightly larger gaming channel, pushing him from 30 subscribers to 100 on the night of December 16th, 2010. Seeing an opportunity for growth, the new year was a time of motivation and lofty dreams. In order to get the ball rolling, he would need to put out enough content to consistently interest an audience and grow his channel. So, he posted multiple times a day, with Dead Space, Minecraft, and of course, the latest installment in the Call of Duty franchise, Black Ops, being his bread and butter. In February of 2011, he was picking up some steam, with more than 2,000 subscribers having joined him since the beginning of the year. Things only increased as he thought of more ways to break the mold and be more entertaining to his audience. At the time, the two categories that the majority of gaming content fell into were that of skill or that which was funniest. People who were particularly good at a game they played usually received lots of recognition for their impressive abilities, and people who were funniest managed to grow an audience because of their ability to captivate and hold viewers there through their personality. The latter was the category Felix fell into, and as time went on, he realized that there were better games for delivering comedic moments than Call of Duty. After some experimentation, he fell in the horror genre, playing spooky and disturbing games while developing his trademark brand of goofy and outrageous reactions. While there were many he played during this time, the series that ultimately kickstarted his channel was his Let's Plays of the 2010 release from Frictional Games, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. While somewhat dated, the game still holds up to this day as one of the definitive survival horror experiences, being very atmospheric and immersive. This contrasted well with Felix constantly screaming at the events of the game. His navigation of the virtual nightmare was refreshing for viewers, particularly younger users who found his reactions to be comedic.
Let's go. No, I don't want to play this anymore.
It is worth noting, however, that Felix's content was quite the departure from his inspirations. At the time, most of the YouTubers making a living playing games were also entertaining a relatively mature audience. Usually, those over the age of 16 were watching people like CNanners. In contrast, Felix's humor heavily relied on how animated and zany he was, meaning he attracted a far younger viewership, with a median age of around 12. And, while his videos were not immediately successful, his consistency garnered him the initial audience he had previously had a hard time accumulating. In September, he passed 25,000 subscribers, a pretty sizable milestone for any YouTuber. Shortly after, he even successfully entered a partnership with Machinima through an association with a friend, who was already under the network, after nearly a year of continuous rejected attempts at doing so on his own. This difficulty was especially strange given his channel size. Entering this agreement took a heavy portion of his potential earnings, but was the only means of making any income since YouTube refused to directly pay partner gaming channels at the time. But with his numbers growing at such a consistent rate, with no end in sight, it was a worthwhile decision given the circumstances. His hobby finally had the potential to be something more, and he made sure to do whatever possible for that to happen. Felix unwaveringly kept up his routine of gaming content creation, as the channel was catching the eye of more and more people every day. It was also during these videos that the Bro Army was born. Felix would jokingly call the monster from Amnesia his bro as a comedic gesture, and as time went on, it also became a name for his fans. Before long, every video was opening with,
How's it going, bros? My name is Pewdiepie!
But YouTube was not his only focus in life. He also had a romantic interest. In 2011, he received an email from a female fan who had enjoyed his videos, a young Italian girl named Marzia. Initially responding to her simply because he found her attractive, Felix began speaking to her frequently online, discovering that the two greatly enjoyed each other's company. For a time, however, he suspected that she could have been a catfish, as she was very shy and would rarely send pictures or videos of herself. One of their only means of communication was through videos they would exchange. In particular, videos Felix would upload unlisted onto his channel, then sending the exclusive link to Marzia. But his worries of some potential catfish were relieved when at the end of the summer, he used everything he had made from his job to travel to Italy and see her. The two really hit it off, and continued speaking after the short visit. Simultaneously, he showed his ability to think ahead, wanting to be able to maintain the audience he had already built and make sure they would be loyal viewers. In 2011, he began Fridays with Pewdiepie, a unique type of vlog-style content. Here, he would explicitly communicate with his audience, thanking them for their support and interacting with their comments. This made him feel very personable. He wasn't like mainstream celebrities. He was, by all accounts, a YouTuber, and a pretty humble one at that for someone growing so quick. Meanwhile, Amnesia had taken over his channel, with upload after upload featuring it as the source material. During the hallowed month of October, he posted video after video playing the game, which was only rewarded via analytics. With each and every video, his channel was growing by hundreds of subscribers, and he was raking in some considerable ad revenue. The same month, Marzia moved from Italy to Sweden to live with Felix. On January 18th of 2012, he hit 100,000 subscribers, a milestone which, while common today, was relatively rare at the time. If previously he had created the formula for success for his channel, 2012 was the time period during which he perfected it. Combined with a number of convenient circumstances, he was primed to become one of the premier content creators on the site, although not even he could have predicted just how far he would go. With a sizable audience, Felix now began to receive some recognition from his peers. One important way he was praised was through the King of the Web Awards. Seen as a sort of America's Got Talent for e-celebrities, King of the Web was a yearly contest in which the audiences could vote for their favorite up-and-comer who was making waves in the online community. How it differs from singing awards shows and legacy media is that the audience is not given a few people to choose from and vote for. Instead, the voting is left entirely up to the promotion of the creator involved. They have to rally their audience. Felix did just that, and thanks to strong support from his subscribers, he won in February of 2012, donating the $6,000 cash prize to a wildlife charity organization. This is one of many charitable donations he has made over the course of his career. Around then, he also stumbled across a game that would replace Amnesia as his most iconic medium. Happy Wheels is a game initially released in 2010. In the game, you have to navigate a number of characters through an obstacle course, in a very bloody and cartoonish fashion.
Oh no, my bicycle! You can kill my son, but you can't kill my bicycle. God damn it, I'm pissed now. Look how pissed I am.
Playing the Game was a huge hit for the Pewdiepie channel, being one of his best performing series to this day. But it wasn't all fun and games. As with every up-and-comer at the head of their genre, PewDiePie would still have to prove himself to the internet at large. It wouldn't be any easier to do this when YouTube specifically began rewarding his content and punishing those who had come before. One of the most popular genres of content on YouTube prior to 2012 was animation. Independent animators would post their original works to YouTube, with people like OniNG, Psychic Pebbles, and Rubber Ninja being some of the most popular names. At the time, the YouTube algorithm, the method by which YouTube promotes different content to different people, also heavily favored animation. This is because the algorithm favored content which had viral potential. They were short, easy to watch videos, which would also lead people to watch a number of other viral videos. Animated shorts perfectly fit into this category, and because animation takes so long, it made sense to make short animations which had a relatively long production cycle, because they would more than make up for the increased effort because of the insane clicks they would receive. All of these animators also previously used Newgrounds to post their work, only moving to YouTube when it became more monetizable. This means that they had a certain past and camaraderie built over years of online companionship, as did their fans. Things didn't bode well when the YouTube algorithm changed in 2012 to favor a different kind of content. Instead of rewarding people for infrequent, short videos which would go viral, YouTube began promoting videos that were posted extremely often because they kept people on the website for longer and therefore allowed more ads to be delivered to viewers' eyes. But of course, with the time that it takes to create an animation, there was no way that these people could post every day, so their revenue streams were greatly impacted and they suffered as a result.
Does independently produced animation have a future on YouTube? Quite frankly, I believe if things don't change, it won't.
It's based on a number of factors, and one is frequency of upload, the other is length of video, both of which are things animators are sorely challenged in.
This was the time when reply girls reigned supreme on YouTube. Girls who showed cleavage in their thumbnails and posted video response after video response to different popular uploads in order to leech off of their views. The YouTube community didn't take well to these channels, with them being bombarded with criticism from the rant community. But reply girls didn't last long, as they were heavily mocked by bigger faces, in particular, animators.
Hey, beautiful people, I just saw a video. It was...
And so, with the reply girls out of the way, the next focus of these detractors became the newest and most popular form of low-effort content, Let's Play. In particular, the man heading the genre. In November of 2012, Jaltoid uploaded a video mocking Felix's fans and the repetitive nature of his channel.
I can't believe how unique that was compared to the first one. Liked, favored, and subscribed.
This may seem like a ridiculous criticism now, with so many YouTubers today doing video after video playing the same game or doing the same game mode, but at the time it was a compelling point against them. This was followed up by an animation just a few weeks later from Speedo Sausage, titled Please Die Pie.
Welcome to the opening of my new gaming channel. It's gonna be wacky and unique. I'm gonna play lots of indie games that you guys have never seen before. Time to play Happy Wheels!
This was all while Felix's channel had continued to grow considerably. By the release of Speedo's video, he had more than 3 million subscribers. It may seem slightly reductive to compare the two, but PewDiePie was in a similar position to where Dream is now. Both have massive audiences which were growing larger than perhaps they could have ever anticipated. Both are at the forefront of their genre, and on a more negative note, small comments from both, which, coming from other creators, would go unnoticed, became entire controversies. One of the first controversies with the PewDiePie channel would come with this wave of vitriol and mockery. Retsupre is seen by many as one of the original faces of the Let's Play genre, with their uploads predating PewDiePie by years. As a result, when Felix became extremely popular doing a similar formula, all while making content which was favored amongst children, their attitude towards him eventually became that of spite. On October 14th of 2012, Retsupre uploaded a video titled Adults React to PewDiePie, during which a number of more mature viewers are seen watching PewDiePie videos and expressing their disinterest. They would later mock his content in subsequent videos as well. Felix himself saw the video, as it was quite popular at the time, deciding to respond in their comment section by saying the following: "Pretty funny, I'll admit, but seriously though, have you ever heard, if you don't like it, then don't watch it? Actually, never mind. Keep keep watching. Your extra views get me extra cash. Lol 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 lol. This got heavy backlash from Retsupre fans and, more broadly, older viewers who disliked Felix's videos. Now, they had a reason to call him greedy and deride his image as a whole. A good reference for how people felt at the time would be the comment section of the Retsupre video, as well as forum posts from those who talked about his response to them. Anyone who wasn't a fan was likely to see Pewdiepie as a pretty obnoxious guy who makes videos for a fan base of rabid children. His passive flaunting of his newfound wealth certainly did not help his case, and only in fact cemented the negative view many had of him. Now, he was not only the guy who was making supposedly low-effort content and being extremely successful at it, but he was also doing it with a smile. However, many in the animation community did eventually learn to adapt to the new state of the website, including Egoraptor, who, with fellow YouTuber JonTron, formed the long-standing Let's Play channel Game Grumps in the summer of 2012. Despite some derision from the greater community, Felix still had an extremely strong following, which was continuing to grow at a rapid rate. In December, he left his network Machinima, citing disgust with their lack of involvement in his channel and general disinterest in any of the work he was doing, all while collecting a significant paycheck from him every month. He also continued to post episodes of Fridays with Pewdiepie, including one where he went on Omegle and surprised his fans by connecting them on his own self-named tag. As he grew more and more, it seemed like he would be accepted by the mainstream as a legit celebrity. In February of 2013, he hit the 5 million subscriber milestone. Just a few months later, he received a profile piece from the New York Times alongside Smosh and Ray William Johnson. Impressive shit. His growth seemed unstoppable, with million subscriber milestone after milestone being passed with each month in 2013. Publications like Forbes predicted that he was making more than $4 million that year alone. By July, he secured the number 2 spot, with the only opponent left to pass being Smosh, who had been the most subscribed channel up until that point. With 12 million in his audience and a revolving door of new viewers flooding to his channel, thanks to the benevolent and generous algorithm, things literally couldn't have been better.
It says the most subscribed YouTube with 12 million. We're actually 13 million now. Yeah!
2013 and 2014 are when Pewdiepie became comfortable. Having had some time to adjust to his newfound fame, he took the opportunity to shout out some of his favorite fellow creators, including people that would later go on to become huge successes in their own right, although not on the same level as Felix. In one episode of Fridays with Pewdiepie, he promoted Omwrecker, Davey504, and a small gaming YouTuber named Jacksepticeye. At the time of the video's upload, Jack had just 2,000 subscribers, but a day later, he had more than 10,000. Jack followed the same basic formula that Felix perfected years prior, making videos where he played horror games like Outlast and reacted in goofy and exaggerated ways. Many have credited this with kickstarting Jack's career, as his channel only snowballed in popularity from that point onward. He also took the time to grow new connections with corporations that played big parts in the online space. One of these was with Polaris, a creator network he signed onto, which later became Maker Studios. He even managed to appear in YouTube Rewind that year, marking his integration with the platform and the industry at large. This mirrored his metric success. In 2014, he passed 20 million subscribers, pushing him farther ahead of the competition, all of which were trailing millions behind him and could simply not compete with his growth. It was also at this point that an interesting figure emerged in the YouTube community to challenge Pewdiepie. Dylan the Hacker was a 14-year-old troll who posted video after video declaring war on various websites, including Reddit and 4chan. He would often threaten to hack them and rail them with petty insults, all while yelling at his webcam. Eventually, he turned his attention to Pewdiepie, making a video about him in 2014 titled Pewdiepie Roast. While it was obvious Dylan was not actually some experienced black hat scripter, many assumed he was actually a kid trying to intimidate his subjects in sincerity, and as a result, the uploads were heavily disliked.
Pewdiepie is an absolute joke! He's not a true gamer like me. And if I ever see him in real life, then I am gonna do what I do to all nerds. I'm gonna throw him in a trash can. Pewdiepie, you better be afraid of me. Take down your channel, Pewdiepie. Take it down, or I'll hack you to the moon.
Dylan famously claimed that he had stolen Felix's channel, as well as his girlfriend, Marzia. Eventually, Dylan would be directly acknowledged by Felix himself, with the two doing several collaborative videos later down the line. as the bit was furthered, with Dylan supposedly having hacked his channel while the two bantered about getting it back. A similar series of events unfolded with a kid known as Malcolm, a name Felix invented to protect the identity of a user who made several amateur videos criticizing him, something which he stumbled across by accident during the filming of his reacting to PewDiePie hate videos. Like Dylan, he too would respond, leading them to have a fun back and forth that accompanied both of their channels. Malcolm's involvement in PewDiePie content was arguably greater than others who received similar attention. He was acknowledged in over 15 videos on Felix's main channel, and accumulated over 130,000 subscribers from this alone. While it's common for others to gain their own popularity, largely through association to bigger figures, in consistent collaborations, or being a part of different groups, Felix's desire and ability to actively involve fans in his content endeared these individuals to many, in a manner that's difficult to describe. And by doing so, Felix himself managed to continuously remain genuine and personable in the eyes of his audience, a far cry from the reputations many others within YouTube's uppercase could sustain. However, one event in particular would undermine this for a short time. In August of 2014, PewDiePie disabled comments across all of his videos, sparking a lot of conversation from his fans. Usually, when people disable comments, they are seen as unable to take criticism. As it turns out, his reason for doing so actually came down to the forced integration of Google Plus into YouTube. In a nutshell, you would have to sign up for a Google Plus account in order to even use the comments. This is in addition to your YouTube account. While this was a large annoyance to many, it also caused a lot of abuse within the comment section, with spam and self-promoting running rampant under videos. Meanwhile, there was no moderation from YouTube themselves, and many of these problems became extremely intense directly after the Google Plus integration.
For you bros, that's my reason of wanting to do this. And I think the main problem here is the comments. I know I complain about the comments a lot, but it's basically my main way to communicate with you bros. I go to the comments and it's mainly spam, it's people self-advertising, it's people who's trying to provoke, people who reply to all these, just all this stuff that to me, it doesn't mean anything.
As a result, Felix turned off his comments as a form of protest, and because he felt they could be a liability. So, he got rid of them for 2.5 months, only reinstating them once many of the issues with Google Plus integration were fixed. These older videos actually still have the comments disabled on them to this day. The same year, Felix also signed an exclusive streaming deal with his friend and fellow YouTuber Cinnamon Toast Ken to host Bro Ken, a show where they would discuss their personal lives and the gaming world.
Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Toast Ken and welcome to the Broken Podcast. I am joined by that guy over there. What's your name, sir?
How do you know where you're pointing?
I'm pointing both ways!
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna duplicate myself so you point on both of me. Hi.
The show was available on MLG.tv a day before the episodes were posted to YouTube. It was also during this time that Felix was once again expressing discontent with his YouTube network, but this time instead of Machinima, it was the previously mentioned Maker Studios. While he didn't want to give many details at the time, he did express in interviews that he was frustrated with the way YouTube networks were run and their lack of support for creators, feeling they did not do much for the people giving away a large cut of their revenue every month. I'd rather not talk too much about it. I'm in touch with a couple of people who I think would be so right for this. I'm eager to get it all up and running. So far, all the networks have been managed in such an incredibly poor way. It's embarrassing, really. I'd like to help other YouTubers. However, at least for now, his idea to create a new network for himself and other independent YouTubers would remain just that, an idea. And perhaps in response to Felix feeling like he wasn't receiving much support from the company he was signed to, Maker ended up launching an online store for him to sell his merch, as well as a custom website, Pewdiepie.com. While this may seem typical today, back then it was relatively uncommon for a YouTuber to have their own online merchandise store. And, as another way to build his community, he promoted a fan-made forum, hosted at the domain broarmy.net. Here, fans of his could create their own accounts and interact with other members of the bro fandom. Showing how strong his following was, his forum had more than 125,000 members at the end of 2014, with a record high of around 50,000 using the site at once. This was, by all means, the home of his most dedicated fans. Outside of the gaming world, he was receiving more recognition in pop culture as well, with frequent requests for him to appear on mainstream television flooding his inbox. There was an interest from the entertainment industry in captivating younger audiences through his image, but he turned the majority of these down, until a message found its way to him from the creators of one of television's most important and influential animated series. On season 18, episode 9 of Comedy Central's animated show, South Park, Felix played himself himself, as the show lampooned modern gaming celebrities.
Wednesday on an all-new South Park. Prepare yourself for the biggest celebrity cameo ever.
Hey, how's it going, bros? This is Pewdiepie.
The episode aired on December 3rd of 2014, to mostly positive reception from PewDiePie's fans, as well as average viewers of the show. Later that month, Felix's channel had another important milestone. On December 29th, the channel became the most viewed on the entire website, with more than 7 billion total hits. This also totaled to an average of 26,000 subscribers being gained every day. And he wasn't the only one.
Top of the morning to you laddies, my name is Jacksepticeye and it's vloggy time!
By this point, Jacksepticeye had more than 2 million subscribers of his own, and was doing YouTube as his full-time job. Mark Edward Fizbach, known on YouTube as Markiplier, had 4 million subscribers at the end of 2014, being known for his outrageous reactions to comedy and horror games. His first video, playing indie horror game Five Nights at Freddy's, has almost 100 million views, and subsequent installments received astronomical success as well.
Hi, Mr. Ducky. God, this night is lasting so long! I just want to go home! I never want to play this game again! I'll be a good boy!
The PewDiePie channel was at the head of a rapidly growing gaming genre, with millions of eyes on each of them and, undeniably, millions of dollars in marketing power. In a few short years, Felix had gone from a guy struggling to fit in and find his path in life to a mainstream celebrity, all from enjoying a hobby he would be doing in his free time, regardless of the success he received.
Tender baby body.
So if I go into the oven, am I just gonna I'm gonna burst into flames here?
I see you, Mark.
Am I in gasoline? Can someone turn this on here?
Yeah.
As 2014 turned into 2015, Felix was only receiving more success for his work, and decided to take the time to experiment a bit with his content. One of these uploads was titled Frozen Fanfiction, during which he and Cinnamon Toast Ken read out and reenacted a very cringy fanfiction written about the characters from Disney's animated film, Frozen.
To Anna's each time, while her eyes were rolled upwards towards the back of her head with her each thrust, Anna's jiggled along.
This has become routine for the two sisters. They spend most of their week alone in Elsa's bedroom. They sleep together, eat together, bathe together.
However, this video did not stay up for long, being deleted by Felix himself. Today, it is only available in re-uploads on YouTube and in lower quality resolution. Well, the reason the video was taken down is because of the company he was signed to. Maker Studios was originally founded by a number of online creators, namely Shay Carl of family vlogging fame. Well, seeing the massive potential that the business had, Disney purchased Maker Studios in 2014 for $500 million, meaning that Disney now owned Maker, and by proxy, Felix was technically in a business partnership with Disney. According to an article from the New York Times, Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, found out that PewDiePie was laughing at fanfiction about Elsa and the snowman having sex, finding it to be in poor taste. As a result, word was passed down via the chain of command, and Felix was ordered to take the video down. Supposedly, this also jeopardized his relationship with Maker for the time being, although they would continue to do business for the foreseeable future. However, this incident didn't deter him from making more fanfiction videos, as he continued to do them about franchises like Harry Potter. This was part of a more experimental content that didn't quite fit into the Let's Play category. While the stories were being reenacted through video games, they would be more focused on the fanfictions themselves and the reactions that Felix and Ken would give to them. Even during his more typical gameplay videos, you can see his jokes evolving. With time, he was growing to appreciate dry humor and irony more than anything else, as well as integrating a lot of satirical edits into his videos. Things like MLG memes were typically found in commentary channels of this time, but Felix was putting them in his gaming videos as well.
Oh my god!
That year, Felix also managed to get the attention of the United States government, and not because they wanted to give him a shiny sticker. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor is a game released in 2014 based off of the Lord of the Rings franchise. As part of its marketing campaign, it was heavily promoted by a number of YouTubers, including PewDiePie himself. This was done through paid promotions on their YouTube channels, which PewDiePie listed in the description of his video. However, according to the Federal Trade Commission, this was not enough disclosure, leading them to open a federal complaint over deceptive advertising. Luckily, Felix did not end up being the target, with the responsibility ultimately falling onto the publisher of the game that was being promoted, WB Games. In an article from The Time by Polygon, Felix himself said, "A lot of YouTubers were involved in this sponsorship, but since my name is the biggest YouTuber, it's the only one that pops up. Yes, I could have disclosed it better. I could have put it above the fold. So basically, all of these news articles are using me as clickbait, putting my name to shame, when I didn't even do anything wrong. If I did something wrong, I should be paying the consequences. In this case, I don't think I did anything wrong." Though this was not the first time Felix had been portrayed in the worst possible light by the press, this is a noticeable point when he became aggravated with the way he was being portrayed by the online media at large. Warner Brothers ended up settling with the FTC over the issue, and following this, they were required to make it clear on any Shadow of Mordor promotional videos that the company paid the YouTuber in question to promote their game. PewDiePie also said that going forward, he would be putting a disclaimer at the beginning of every sponsorship within the video itself, and promoting games created by industry giants weren't his only ventures into the gaming industry. In September of 2015, Felix released his own mobile game, PewDiePie Legend of the Brofist. The game was a bestseller on iOS and Android, starring Felix himself as the main character in a side-scrolling platformer.
So basically, you collect the bro coins, and you use them to unlock abilities later in the game, unlock characters. You will be able to unlock Marcia and a bunch of other YouTuber friends. I'm sure you know this already, I just have to say it just to make sure that you know it.
And, as his form was traveling around the world to the phones and tablets of his fans, he was also traveling the globe. That same October, Felix made a trip to America, in specific, Los Angeles. As he filmed his adventure, he was putting hints in his vlogs that he was filming some kind of show with YouTube.
I found out, though, that I can't really say too much of what I'm doing here. People are worried it's gonna leak into the media.
Engadget published an article at the time speculating that he was filming some kind of reality show. After lots of eager anticipation from his fans, Scare PewDiePie was announced alongside YouTube Red, YouTube's new paid subscription service which would feature exclusive shows from YouTubers. Scare PewDiePie was marketed as one of the most important premiere shows, and released in February of 2016. The main idea behind the series was that, in each episode, Felix would be tasked with making his way through a series of real-life obstacle courses, all of which was designed to scare him in a play on the old Amnesia Let's Plays that made him so popular in the first place. The show actually had some legitimate talent behind it as well, with backing from Robert Kirkman. For the unaware, Kirkman is the original creator of the Walking Dead comic book series, which would later be adapted for television. Season 1 was pretty well received by fans, although from a broader critical perspective, it did not fare very well. One editorial from Forbes seems to pretty accurately reflect the opinions of the press around it. I've said previously that I'm not the target demographic for YouTube star Felix PewDiePie Shellberg's work, but I admire him nonetheless. He's a hard worker, a charismatic presence on screen, and has devoted lots of time and effort to charitable work. I'm just not really a big fan of his YouTube videos, even though Shellberg himself strikes me as a super nice guy and I'm glad at his success. Still, I think I'd rather watch him yell at weird indie games on screen and to do all his weird antics than watch another episode of Scare PewDiePie, the new YouTube Red exclusive. It's a heavily scripted, reality TV show of sorts, placing Shellberg in scary, real-world versions of frightening video games. PewDiePie doesn't know what's coming and reacts accordingly. It's not very good. It's just, maybe if you're a PewDiePie fan you might enjoy it, but I'd rather watch that one Brazilian elevator prank over and over again than this. And I can watch that on YouTube without a $10 a month subscription. Regardless, the show received pretty high viewership, meaning the formula was working for his fans. Production on season 2 was even scheduled for late 2016. And Felix continued to smash other milestones, becoming the first channel to ever accumulate 10 billion views. As the year came to a close, he also went on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and did a charity event with Markiplier, Rebecca Black, and Ellen DeGeneres. But things wouldn't remain status quo for too long. The PewDiePie channel was about to enter a transitionary period. On November 21st, Dumbass Gets PewDiePie tattoo was uploaded by Filthy Frank, in which an at the time unknown Chad, or Anything for Views, got a tattoo of the Brofist logo on his ass. On January 2nd of 2016, PewDiePie reacted to the video.
What the fuck is this? Okay. You know what? If you ever want to get a PewDiePie tattoo, make sure it's on your ass. because I will bro-fist it.
Felix seemed to enjoy it, and the content creators involved, namely Filthy Frank, who at the time was solely known for his offensive and outrageous videos. This was posted just as the year began, and while at first glance it may seem like a simple response to a crazy upload, it would serve as a symbolic change for Felix into a new era of his content. It was also during this period that Felix's actions and attitudes would change the course of YouTube forever. 2016 is a year many remember as YouTube's golden age. It definitely depends on who you ask, but if you're like me and spent a lot of time that year watching people like Filthy Frank, iDubbbz, H3H3, and Leafy is Here, then you would probably agree. All of these creators relied on a dry sense of humor, oftentimes saying controversial things not because they believed them, but because they were willing to say basically anything to get a reaction. Generating outrage was rewarded, and with each rising creator, it seemed like the bar of what was acceptable was being pushed more and more. iDubbbz famously managed to even justify his use of the forbidden executable, a code script that today is rarely used. And when it is rewarded with backlash and hatred of the highest degree. Don't say it, don't think it. The previous year, Pewdiepie had become a fan of many of these darker content creators, and in 2016, he began branching off into different kinds of videos which fell into this category. In the first half of that year, Felix posted My New Car, which was a parody of the trend a lot of YouTubers were doing at the time, where they would showcase their slick new automobiles, which were, of course, purchased with their Google advertising revenue. He did this while blasting the song from the late 3Pac, Pewdiepie is a Child Rapist.
Pewdiepie is a child rapist. Everybody knows that 3Pac is the greatest.
He clearly wanted to make videos that were more subversive and mocked the YouTube landscape rather than blended in with it. You can tell that during this time he had become very self-aware of his position on the site and did not want to be seen as a child entertainer any longer. He was growing as a creator and as a person.
If you bros didn't exist, I wouldn't be making videos. Honestly, I really feel like I've gotten that connection back. We're doing these fan creation videos together where I interact to your bros creations, and I love that. Listening to voicemails, reviewing fan art, all that kind of stuff is so cool.
In 2016, Felix also managed to fulfill his dream of creating his own multi-channel network as well. As a subsidiary of Maker, Revel Mode was a team of creators who would collaborate and also fund game development between those signed on. Some big names involved were older associates like Mark, Jack, and Cinnamon Toast Ken, as well as newer faces to the gaming community, like Kwebbelkop. That year, he also released another mobile game, which would be far more popular than his first venture into the space. PewDiePie's Tuber Simulator is a game built around trying to be a famous YouTuber. You can customize your character and then spend time completing tasks to improve your analytics and purchase items for your set. The game was even given free promotion via YouTube on channels like Jacksepticeye and Jelly, no doubt boosting its popularity. Alongside these business ventures, he was also willing to continue to brandish his rather edgy sense of humor. On August 30th, Felix unverified his account on Twitter, saying that he found celebrity-only notifications to be annoying. Subsequently, he also jokingly claimed that he was part of one particular militant Islamic group, which has been in the news a lot in the last few years. These edgy jokes ended up getting the media really riled up about the situation.
And everyone just started freaking out. So dumb. Why am I here? Mashable posted about it. People are freaking out.
During this time period, PewDiePie was shedding his fanbase of younger people who may not have been able to understand his humor, as he would now often poke fun at serious subjects. Through situations like this, he came to realize that regardless of the backlash he got, ultimately, he just had fun starting some controversy and getting people talking. He was learning the art of the troll. On October 20th, he created a joke second channel called Jacksepticeye 2 and promoted it in a video on his main channel. It quickly amassed a large following of its own, being the fastest channel to ever reach 1 million subscribers. This was done as a method to poke fun at his friend, Jack, and so that he could get another golden play button because the original had been sent to him broken.
I'm gonna link this channel in the description, and if all of us, all 48 million of us, can go and click on this link, that would not just generate 8 million views, which would be really nice for our revenue, but it would also give me a new golden play button.
At the time, the PewDiePie channel was nearing 50 million subscribers, and he decided that he would spice things up a bit. So, he posted a video threatening to delete his channel once he hit 50 million, also citing his issues with the site as a whole, like clickbait and failing to show videos in subscriptions feeds.
I know you're gonna think I'm joking right now, but I'm gonna delete my channel. I swear to you, at 50 million subs, when we hit 50 million, a huge landmark coming up. Huge deal, never been done before, no one's even close. I am deleting my channel.
However, when the time came to get rid of his channel, the one he terminated was his new second channel that he had created for a cheap gag. Meanwhile, he had already reaped the benefits from his video talking about it, and the ad revenue gathered from it, and from the talk generated from the story of the biggest YouTuber potentially deleting his channel. As the year went on, he seemed to become bolder with every video, trying to find the line in terms of what he could and could not get away with on YouTube. On December 6th, Felix dressed in a British soldier's uniform while watching clips of Germany's Supreme Chancellor from 1933 to 1945. One day before Christmas, he posted, "Can this video get 1 million dislikes?" in an effort to see how many downvotes his audience could give if encouraged to do so. On January 5th, hashtag PewDiePieIsOverParty went trending on Twitter after Felix posted a video of himself reacting to being named the 18th most handsome face of 2016. In the video, he drops a use of the ninja and exclamation of his placing at number 18, saying, 18! On January 11th, Felix uploaded a video which has now become infamous to the entire internet, and even many members of the mainstream media. Within it, Pewds pays a number of people on the website Fiverr. In this case, he paid them to record themselves saying various offensive things purely for the shock value. For example, he paid 2 Indian men to hold up a sign with an anti-Semitic slogan while saying subscribe to Keemstar. As a result, the men in the video were banned, as well as Jesus Christ himself. But the video was so popular that it even hit YouTube's trending tab for a short time. 5 days later, the 2 men who held up the sign for PewDiePie apologized, saying that they did not understand what they were saying. A week later, on January 17th, Felix posted a video titled "In My Defense," where he criticized some of the media perception around his video and the way that his comedy was being treated.
See, and even all the comments talk about it, like, what a trash article, nice grab for views, you hack. I'm glad people at least realize, I'm really glad to see that the majority realize how bullshit these articles are and that they fulfill no purpose whatsoever than to tear down my name to get some more clicks online.
But this would not be enough to quell any of the conversation around his statements, as shortly after that, Vox would publish an article detailing the controversy around what had happened. Pewds tried to explain himself via a Tumblr post, where he said that he made the Fiverr video simply to show how crazy the modern world is, rather than as a move to embolden anti-Semites. I think it's important to say something, and I want to make one thing clear. I am in no way supporting any kind of hateful attitudes. I make videos for my audience. I think of the content that I create as entertainment, and not a place for any serious political commentary. I know my audience understands that, and that is why they come to my channel. Though this was not my intention, I understand that these jokes were ultimately offensive. As laughable as it is to believe that I might actually endorse these people, to anyone unsure on my standpoint regarding hate-based groups, no, I do not support these people in any way. While Felix was successfully transitioning his content, it was not going to be smooth sailing from this point onward. Prior to this, he had basically been given a free pass to do and say what he wanted, with very little criticism from the media or those that may find his jokes offensive. People like Filthy Frank, or even Leafy, could get away with this, because, while popular, they were by no means poster boys. PewDiePie, meanwhile, was the de facto human face associated with the platform, as the most popular online creator in the world. And eventually, he would draw the attention of people who were not very big fans of his humor. All prior criticism from the American media would pale in comparison to his next approaching foe. On February 14th, New York City-based publication The Wall Street Journal published an article titled "Disney Severs Ties with YouTube Star PewDiePie After Anti-Semitic Posts." Within it, the 3 authors detail the instances stated prior, as well as specifically outlining their own effort to hurt Felix financially. On Monday, after the Journal contacted Disney about the videos, the entertainment giant said it was severing ties with Mr. Shellberg. This would mean that the contract signed between the PewDiePie channel and Maker Studios was now void, and the channel was now without a network. The majority of PewDiePie fans were enraged by the article, as the journal deliberately took various jokes and bits out of context to make Felix look as bad as possible.
So basically, they went to the biggest brands that I work with, Disney and YouTube, and they pushed them to the corner and said, hey, what do you think about this? Hate? Look at this, this is bad. Obviously cornering them, forcing them to sever their ties with me. Here's the thing though, they don't call it jokes. They call it posts. I made a point that the media takes what I say out of context. They take that and put it out of context to use against me and to portray me as a Nazi. Nice try, Wall Street Journal. Try again, motherfuckers.
As well as deliberately targeted his connections with larger companies in a move to hurt him financially. This didn't seem to be just journalism, but rather a few spiteful individuals trying to hurt the finances of a man far more successful than themselves. The same day of the article's release, Scare PewDiePie was also cancelled, meaning the second season would never be released to the public in any form. Felix's channel was also removed from its premium advertising program, meaning he would no longer be able to receive ads from big-name brands, likely because YouTube feared that if a large brand had their ad appear in an offensive video, then another article could be written and damage the reputation of the website. To make things worse, Felix's own network he was running as a subsidiary of Maker, Revel Mode, which had signed on his friends like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, was shuttered. The man himself said that he found this to be the most devastating blow from the initial fallout. But that was not nearly the end of it. Following the article, hundreds more were published from news outlets, many of which either outright called him an anti-Semite or criticized him for making jokes on such a large platform. Amidst the backlash, Schellberg did attempt to defend himself, and by a wide margin, his fans were on his side. Popular faces like Philip DeFranco, Markiplier, and H3H3 defended him, with the community coming to his aid to correct the record that the legacy media was pushing.
He's a comedian. Maybe he pushed the boundary a little too far. But guys, that's it. Let's not call him an anti-Semite, because he's not. Save your fucking outrage for the real racists.
Felix. And I want to be very clear about something. Felix is not an anti-Semite, and Felix does not advocate hate.
As Felix showed in his response, much of their case for him being an anti-Semite was entirely fabricated.
They took that part. They ignored the whole part about me talking about context, and they took that part and put it out of context. They took parts where in my game other people created swastikas, and my title of that video is "Stop doing this." Stop doing this. That's basically what I said. Stop making swastikas in my game. They took that as evidence against me. This whole thing is not a post. It was an attack.
There seemed to be a concerted effort by the Wall Street Journal to take his words out of context to make him look worse. While offensive, none of his jokes were an endorsement of the ideologies he parodied, and that is what was so infuriating to him and the YouTube community. The fact that the writers likely knew what they were doing, and did this as a way to frame him as a bad person to an older audience who may not be familiar with the culture of his channel and his videos in general. It was very upsetting. While YouTubers had his back, the media only continued to push the same narrative, and even went on to mock him in their responses. Titles like PewDiePie responds to Disney dismissal by attacking media, PewDieCry, PewDiePie fights back tears as he responds to criticism, and YouTube star rages against the media flashed across the phone screens of boomers around the globe. Regardless of his responses, the damage to Felix had already been done, losing multiple business opportunities as a result of the actions of the journalists working for the Wall Street Journal. With him out of the way, their next target became the platform itself. Subsequently, they began publishing a series of articles about YouTube. They accused the platform of allowing ads to be run on hateful videos, with outlets like The Guardian parroting their opinions and getting a lot of attention from the press. They were only given more fuel when actual hate site, The Daily Stormer, changed their banner to proclaim themselves the world's #1 PewDiePie fan site. As weeks passed, the controversy continued to snowball, with the focus moving away from Felix and more to YouTube as a platform. The Wall Street Journal then began reaching out to large companies whose brands were being advertised through Google, and therefore through YouTube, with massive names like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and Walmart pulling the plug on all advertising with the platforms. All of the major names leaving, and many more pulling their spending dollars from YouTube, would cast a dark shadow on the website, leading to the darkest period that it as a platform and its creators would ever have to live through. With all of these massive advertisers leaving the website, YouTube was rapidly losing their primary source of revenue. They needed to introduce some measures to mitigate the crisis and hopefully attract these big spenders back to the website. However, as with many changes, in the short term this proved to be a detriment to all creators. This is when YouTube introduced the yellow $sign. Limited advertisements. You've probably heard a lot about this little yellow symbol due to the adverse effects it has had on the creators who see it on their videos. In a nutshell, pre-adpocalypse, if you met the qualifications for the YouTube Partner Program, then you could basically have any video monetized. But, as of this controversy, YouTube introduced the limited ad system, meaning that any videos with controversial content would be unsuitable for most advertisers. However, this also led to thousands of videos with no controversial content being caught in the crossfire. Many YouTubers, even those posting completely safe content, received the yellow $sign on their videos and reported losing as much as 60% of their revenue across the board. Behind the scenes, YouTube was also developing a number of other systems to categorize which videos would receive which ads, information which was not privy to creators in any form by YouTube themselves. Rather, a researcher named CeeLo, in collaboration with Nerd City, had to bring this to the public, exposing that YouTube was working on a secret rating system by which videos could be given more or less ads. At the time, many creators were afraid for their channels, fearing that if the trend continued, then they would be unable to do YouTube as a job.
Right after it happened, my revenue dropped by 50%. What's going on right now for me is most of my back catalog has had ads added back onto them. There's still a couple of videos that don't. But what happens now is when I upload a new video, it does not see many ads for the first 24 hours.
Look at these earnings. It's like a pulse. I'm flatlining out here. Leave Ken Bone alone? How is that even controversial? It's just Ken Bone. We have Jenna Marbles saying, same dude, I also had a bizarre selection of videos demonetized with no notification or option to appeal. If Jen is not safe, it's coming for all of us. iDubbbz experiencing a similar meme.
So, while larger creators could survive, many smaller ones were left at the wayside trying to find ways to support their channels. This is when many YouTubers began to utilize Patreon, as it was, and still is, one of the only ways to successfully monetize content about controversial issues. Many YouTubers began taking sponsorship offers for their videos, with games like Raid Shadow Legends and services like NordVPN becoming a staple of YouTubers' monthly income. With these new revenue streams, people could support themselves, although it did take some considerable adjustment. Some also went to the effort of creating new platforms to increase their income streams, such as H3H3, who at the time began the H3 podcast and made it his main focus as opposed to his previously successful commentary channel. Due to his large channel size, Felix managed to survive the onslaught, both from the media and from the considerable drop in revenue, without making too many big changes to his channel. And as the summer of 2017 grew closer, he had time to reflect on the controversy, vowing to make several changes to his content. Around this time, Felix made several statements that he would try to move away from the extremely edgy videos. After seeing the alt-right rally in Charlottesville, he proclaimed that he realized that there were real bigots amassing, who he wanted nothing to do with.
So I thought now would be a good time as any to just say, I want nothing to do with these people. I don't think anyone that watches me think I'm an actual Nazi. But I know a lot of people still might have doubt, mainly because of all the jokes that I've been making. At this point, I really just want to distance myself from all this, because seeing it as well, I remember back when everything happened in February, I was sort of like, I mean, they're just jokes. There's not actual Nazis out there. What are you talking about? And then I look at this and I'm like, oh, okay, I see. Okay. Well,
and at the same time, he was also making several moves to change his content. Whereas prior, many of his videos were focused on gaming, here he became more of a commentary channel, talking about current events and interacting with his audience. One series to premiere during this time was Lawai, a series ripped off, a series inspired by Yai from fellow YouTuber Jax Films.
Today we're gonna go through you guys' submission for the green screen competition. I recorded myself in front of a green screen. I asked you guys to submit your edits, and now we're gonna watch.
Serving as a direct link between him and his audience, Felix would ask his fans a question, and would then respond to some of the most upvoted posts on his subreddit designed directly for the show, r/Pewdiepie submissions. Most of these were comedic in nature, and he would react to them for the first time in his recording.
Leave your entries in the subreddit bros, and I'll watch submissions in the next episode of Lawai.
I made a portrait painting of Pewds. I hope you like it. I know I'm supposed to be thankful, and I know I'm supposed to be happy, but is my nose really that big? Thank you very much. Press F to pay respect. Keyboard cat. Oh, keyboard cat. I thought it was just a puppet this whole time.
People took great pleasure in seeing his authentic reactions to his community's posts, making his bond with them even stronger. This also served as a replacement series for the classic series of videos on his channel, Fridays with Pewdiepie. This is the time when Felix appeared to have a very genuine connection with his viewers, even posting videos about topics that were completely out of the ordinary for his channel. In May of 2017, he posted a video talking about his favorite story, which is from a manga. A number of his videos also starred himself reacting to content that he found to be obnoxious around YouTube, often lampooning outlets similar to BuzzFeed. This not only further cemented him as a commentary channel, but also showed his continued discontent with the legacy media and the press.
Hey guys, let's grab a bunch of people with a colorful background. That's popular, right? We can do that too.
No. No! No! Things were going well for Felix as he moved away from racial humor and continued to express his personality to a lot of success on his channel. But on September 12th, he would once again strike controversy when he came across a fateful bridge in a live stream of the Battle Royale game PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
What a fucking name. Jeez, oh my god, what the fuck? Sorry, but what the fuck? What a fucking asshole. I don't mean that in a bad way, Jesus fuck. I fucking tried to shoot, I shot him 3 times. He fucking went out of his way.
From watching the video, you can tell that this was a slip of the tongue from him. Following this, many media outlets responded to the controversy, and the entirety of the YouTube world talked about the incident. Whereas before, many defended him, this time, a few key figures noticeably stayed silent or outright condemned his actions. For example, Ethan of H3 openly criticized him on his platform for his use of the word.
So, it sucks. It really sucks. I don't think Felix is a racist person. But, god damn, he really kind of just was really comfortable using that word. That really just kind of, like you're reaching for all these words, right? And you're like, oh, let me just like a little N-bomb for you. I mean, I know this is a point a lot of people say, but it certainly seems like that's not the first time he's used that word in that context.
Ethan was heavily criticized for this moment, as he had previously used the N-word on his own podcast repeatedly and without hesitation, and yet here he was criticizing Felix. Regardless, it was clear to him that he made a mistake, and he wanted to apologize on his platform. As the biggest YouTuber in the world, there was no way he would be able to continue unhindered without some kind of statement. So, on September 12th of 2017, he posted an apology video titled My Response.
You probably won't believe me when I say this, but whenever I go online and I hear other players use the same kind of language that I did, I always find it extremely immature and stupid, and I hate how I now personally fed into that part of gaming as well. It was something that I said in the heat of the moment. I said the worst word I could possibly think of, and it just sort of slipped out. And I'm not gonna make any excuses to why it did, because there are no excuses for it. I'm disappointed in myself because it seems like I've learned nothing from all these past controversies. And it's not that I think I can say or do whatever I want and get away with it. That's not it at all. I'm just an idiot. But that doesn't make what I said or how I said it okay. It was not okay.
This entire thing was undoubtedly a huge blow to his reputation, as the clip went viral and received widespread criticism from the media world. And this time, he didn't make an effort to defend it. A subsequent controversy from the event was also when a developer of one of the games Felix had played caught wind of his livestream slip-up. Developer Sean Vanneman, the co-founder of Campo Santo Games, was one of the lead creators behind the indie game Firewatch. This was a game played commonly by YouTubers as of its time of release, including Felix himself. Initially, Sean was fine with this, as the video served as free promotion for his game and undoubtedly contributed to a number of sales on Steam. However, after the bridge incident, Sean was not happy with the series remaining up on YouTube, stating that he would be filing a DMCA takedown of the content posted by Felix.
For those of you who don't know, a DMCA claim is basically a copyright strike. It's like a legal action towards your channel. It's a pretty big deal. If I get more than 3 of them, then my channel will shut down. So you could say this is an attack on me, my livelihood. So it seemed more than just grandstanding. This seems more like an attack to me. He also followed with, I urge other developers and will be reaching out to folks much larger than us to cut him off from the content that has made him a millionaire.
As a result, Campo Santo as a company received heavy backlash from the YouTube community and was review bombed at the time that the incident occurred. Many were upset that the developer seemed okay with profiting off the Pewdiepie platform when it was convenient for him, but he threatened to abuse copyright law in his favor once he became upset with his game being associated with a controversial figure. This is also evident from the fact that the About tab on the official Firewatch website was changed after this incident occurred. Previously, it said that anyone could stream the game and monetize their videos about it, but after, it was changed to proclaim that if you use your platform to spread hate or harassment, they would not like you to play their game or make money off of it. This would imply that Felix encouraged some kind of hate or harassment, which he would obviously disagree with. In the end, though, the videos of him playing Firewatch were removed, and eventually, the Steam reviews of the game did return back to normal. The end of 2017 marked an important change in the culture of the online world, particularly on YouTube. Whereas in 2016, edgy content creators reigned supreme, the end of the year would basically mark the end of YouTube's golden age for that content that dared to push the line. On October 3rd, the final episode of iDubbbz's Content Cop was released, which PewDiePie made a cameo in. H3, meanwhile, was largely focused on his podcast by this point and had moved away from much of the attitudes that made him popular and revered in the first place. On December 12th, Leafy began his period of inactivity on YouTube, going missing in action as his channel bled subscribers. On December 17th, Filthy Frank announced that he would be leaving his channel behind in exchange for his music career under the name Joji. And as a final reminder of the year's controversies, that year Felix was specifically excluded from the annual YouTube Rewind. Despite the changing landscapes of YouTube, Felix's channel was still going strong, receiving consistent viewership from his fans, even hitting 60 million subscribers and 17 billion cumulative views in January of 2018. This transformation into more of a commentary channel also continued with his videos giving his thoughts on current events, both on and off YouTube, all while portraying his signature dry sense of humor, albeit with some alterations to avoid the obvious. On February 3rd, PewDiePie began his Pew News series. As a pseudo-parody of mainstream news outlets, it had Felix making jokes about current events and talking about internet culture. That, along with Lawai, were his two main series on his channel at this point, as he had one to talk about current events outside of his community, and another to make a connection with his fan base.
News number 1! J.K. Rowling is under the fire lately. J.K. Rowling responds to gay Dumbledore controversy. J.K. Rowling, the wonderful author who didn't take a second before calling me out publicly for being a fascist. Thank you, J.K.
He also made an effort to use his platform for good, trying to shake off the image of his channel that many mainstream outlets would have liked to paint. On April 8th, a video was uploaded titled Johnny D Needs Help. For the unaware, Johnny D was an elderly man who had been posting videos for 3 years, which were usually him doing song covers of popular rap songs. Many in the community found his performances entertaining and his personality endearing, hence Felix had promoted him on his channel. But in April of 2018, he began suffering from pneumonia, an ailment which prevents breathing and can be extremely harmful for older individuals. In this episode of Pew News, Felix promoted a fundraiser to help Johnny D with his medical bills.
Nevertheless, I hope Johnny recovers as soon as possible so we can have him back making his amazing karaoke videos. That's all we want. Johnny D, if you're watching, keep hanging in there. The bro's got your back, boy.
And apart from that, as a commentary channel, Felix criticized a pantheon of different faces. A few good examples of this would be the creators of the ill-fated Bully Hunter service and typical targets of commentary channels, like Tana Mojo and the Paul brothers. This was, by all means, a new era for Felix's channel, with him resembling someone like Nafuckers more than ever with his content. But, as is typical of a commentary channel, he also ended up stirring the pot quite a bit in a few instances. Rather than talking about the drama of the day, he became heavily entrenched in some of his own very big stories, which would then go on to be covered by people like Keemstar and Scarce. One story all began with one Twitch streamer who you have likely heard of, Alinity. Alinity is a female Twitch streamer hailing from Canada Canada, who many have been critical of in the past due to the fact that many of her viewers appear to watch her more for her physical attractiveness rather than any perceived skill or entertainment value being displayed. As a result, she would often wind up in compilations on YouTube with some rather dubious titles. I would say to contact the Horny Police Twitter account, but those guys have unfortunately been compromised and now promote girls' OnlyFans. In a video titled Testing Out Eye Tracking, Felix attempted to avoid looking at suggestive parts of girls' bodies while watching clips of a number of female streamers. And during this video, Alinity was briefly featured. Once she caught wind of this, she watched it on stream and took issue with the fact that he called her and the other girls Twitch thoughts. This led to a now infamous clip where she threatens to use the DMCA system to remove the video in question, misspeaking and calling a copyright strike a copy strike.
Seriously? He just said that? I'm gonna copy strike this guy. Just for that word. Gonna copy strike him. Yo! Can we copy strike PewDiePie's latest video? Like right now?
Following the virality of this clip, PewDiePie responded to Alinity criticizing her for taking down his video, which he was totally within his legal right to post. She, meanwhile, had abused the systems in place which are designed to prevent copyright infringement to silence someone who made a lighthearted joke about her.
My intention is never to upset people with videos. I decided it was easier to just cut her out. But before we were able to do that, the video did in fact, yes, get copy striked.
This introduced Alinity to a much wider audience, and in a negative context, as she was now someone who was willing to use illegal means to remove videos that she did not like. To make matters worse, she went on to brag that she had made $700 in the last month alone from her network claiming videos on YouTube and collecting the ad revenue from them, any of which videos could have been totally within their legal right to exist and to make their own money. And while all of that is fucked, this situation also gave birth to an important channel meme which his fans would take in stride. While talking about the drama, Alinity referred to Felix's fans as little 9-year-olds. And rather than take offense to this, Felix and his followers decided to embrace it. The Bro Army title had been seldom used by this point, and so the channel's followers decided to take up the ironic title of the 9-year-old army. Meanwhile, Felix's following was growing stronger with every passing day, as his subreddit reached more than 600,000 members in October of the same year. But things wouldn't stay comfortable for too long as another challenger approached, one that would symbolize the end of an era for YouTube as a platform, as well as the trajectory of the internet as a whole. YouTube has seen many site-wide changes over its time as the biggest video sharing platform in the world. However, what hadn't changed until 2018 was the virtual pecking order, the list of most subscribed to YouTubers. Channels like Smosh and Jenna Marbles that Felix had passed half a decade ago had never really gotten the same growth, and no creator had stepped up to the plate since, until the channel T-Series. T-Series is an Indian YouTube channel created in 2006. The channel is mostly focused on music, posting a number of extremely popular Indian music videos, and as of 2017, the channel was growing very fast, racking up 100,000 subscribers daily. Up until that point, it had gone largely unnoticed by English-speaking YouTube, because the majority of them aren't huge fans of Indian music. But, as the channel's popularity increased, people in the highest places began to take notice of its success. By July of 2018, the channel had reached 51 million subscribers, just 10 million behind the PewDiePie channel. T-Series was also growing 4 times faster. So, in August of 2018, Felix made a call to action.
Another YouTube channel is taking over. That's right. In no less than in November this year. PewDiePie will not be the biggest channel on YouTube.
While he was being pretty goofy in this video, this change is important. Felix had been at the #1 spot for 5 years, and even though YouTube as a platform would rather have a cleaner, much safer spokesperson to represent them as the most well-known creator on their platform, him being rough around the edges is really what made him such a captivating figure. From the inception of his career, he wasn't a super family-friendly guy who was interested in cynically promoting his content to a mass audience. He was just a young guy who liked video games and wanted to share that with people. Ultimately, Ultimately, his controversies just made him more human. That being said, I think you should probably stay away from bridges while live streaming. T-Series, on the other hand, is a channel run by a company. There's no personality or one creator behind it. It's owned by a businessman who has hundreds of employees operating it, working on producing professional content, which is basically the Indian equivalent to Justin Bieber or Britney Spears. There's a corporatism to the channel that makes it so popular in India because it can just pump out content. But it's also not really a YouTube channel. It's TV and the music industry coming to YouTube to make its nest. The community already had a growing distaste towards American talk show hosts for having clipped re-uploads of their broadcast put on the trending tab and receiving the utmost support from YouTube as a platform. And now, some company was going to pass the man who had earned his place at the top? People were not going to just let it slide. So, channels like Drama Alert and Mr. Beast posted videos to their channels about T-Series, encouraging their audiences to subscribe to him and rallying fellow independent creators to the cause. Before long, people across the platform were doing outrageous things, which would not only help their own individual success due to how big the topic was becoming, but also create a positive feedback loop where other creators and fans would join the campaign. The story only became more interesting when Felix uploaded an episode of Pew News, alleging that T-Series had an advantage given to them by YouTube as a platform. Users stated that upon creating a new YouTube account and setting your location to India or the Middle East, you would be automatically subscribed to T-Series.
There's been a lot of posts talking about how if you create an account in India or the Middle East, you will be automatically subscribed to T-Series. At first I thought, no, that's impossible. There's just no way that would actually be a thing. But then I see more and more people talking about it, saying that it did happen to it. So I wanted to ask if you guys could send, if you guys notice this, please send evidence. Maybe create an account in India to test it or something like that. Because I'm curious, because it would definitely be interesting.
This seems to suggest that the company's corporate connections went so far that they were just a default in some versions of YouTube. As the year dragged on, people began doing more and more click-worthy things to fuel the fire. Mr. Beast famously spent tens of thousands to buy every billboard in his city to advertise the movement. At the time this video was released, Felix was only 100,000 subscribers away from being passed, but the video pushed him forwards by 360,000. This was the most his channel had gained in one day up until that point. Contributing to its virality, PewDiePie also posted his own diss track, Bitch Lasagna. The song went viral, receiving nearly 300 million views on YouTube, as well as 100 million plays on Spotify. The song ends with Felix jokingly accusing them of subbotting, the practice of purchasing bot accounts to create new channels, which then subscribe to your YouTube channel, therefore artificially increasing the number attached to your subscriber count. Looking back, it's incredible to think about just how big this got around the globe. Its message far transcended the online world, and it wasn't even political. On November 25th, Mr. Beast said PewDiePie 100,000 times, once again boosting Felix's channel, this time by 500,000 subscribers over the course of 2 days. The video was also 12 hours long. Shortly after this, a user going by the name of The Hacker Giraffe claimed to have found a way to remotely access 800,000 printers. Subsequently, he gave them the command to print a short message telling the reader to subscribe to PewDiePie, and across Twitter, people posted videos and images of the message coming out of their printers unprompted. Soon, articles were published by technology-focused outlets like The Verge, who claimed that as many as 50,000 printers had been accessed via the backdoor breach. In December, as T-Series was about to pass him, Markiplier fired up a live stream telling his own audience of more than 20 million to click the link in his description to subscribe to PewDiePie.
And now you know. In the description there is a link that will take you to PewDiePie's channel, where you can subscribe to PewDiePie. Do your part. This isn't just about you. This isn't just about me. This is about what's right. What needs to be done in this world. This is about respect. And I respect the fact that PewDiePie needs to have more subscribers than T-Series.
Derv even challenged himself to watch the Bitch Lasagna music video for 24 hours straight. However, it appears he fudged this a bit by looping a good portion of the live stream while he slept, and then returning once he had woken up. Regardless, the stream did get quite a bit of attention. Everyone was doing their part in the war against the corporate invasion, with Felix even gaining 500k in one day as a result of all of the attention. During a video titled, "This is Getting getting out of control, he encouraged his fans to refrain from making any hateful remarks about Indian people as a whole. He simply wanted the campaign to be about YouTube channels. He even encouraged his fans to donate to a charity based out of India. It seemed like everything was going well. By mid-December, Felix had a 1 million sub lead over his Indian opponents. The community had really come together in an effort to help him out. And it was for a cause which many could consider wholesome. Merely a bunch of creators passionate about YouTube promoting someone who had been an important staple of online culture for years. So, on December 10th, Felix decided he would give back to the community once again by promoting a list of creators who he admired and enjoyed the work of. It was within this video that he would encounter yet another controversy, one that would once again put him at odds with the press. During the video, one of the channels that Felix gave a promotion to was a movie and anime review channel by the name of ER. The man behind the channel has often been praised for his analysis of the different pieces of media he talks about. At the time, his series about the live-action Death Note movie was receiving a lot of acclaim. With that being said, ER has also had a lot of controversies of his own because of some of the jokes he's put in his videos.
He's not racist, but he's off to a good start.
Yeah, if only someone had stopped me.
As a result, many have associated ER's sense of humor with the far right, and by proxy, his channel with the far right, given how frequently he parroted their humor. Well, as you can imagine, things didn't go over so well when Felix promoted this controversial channel and directed 100,000 more subscribers to him.
One of the other channels that he shouted out was a channel called E:R, a channel that has a video that literally features 20 minutes, or not 20, sorry, 4 minutes of uninterrupted footage from a speech Hitler gave from a content creator that has talked about red pilling his friends about the Jewish question. Yeah, that seems like a fucking big problem, especially if the majority of his fans are like 14-year-old kids.
Following this, outlets like The Verge and Vox covered it as well. The Vox article in particular was very critical of the promotion. To casual observers, PewDiePie's support of ER may have appeared harmless, one YouTube user supporting another, but a more than cursory dive into the channel would have revealed several instances of disturbing imagery, slurs, and white supremacist messaging. ER's creator even refers to his reputation as a racist in the channel's FAQ. This also allowed a number of left-wing content creators to speak on the issue of a supposed pipeline, the theory behind which leading them to believe that YouTube's algorithm pushes young people to more radical systems of belief. Once again, Felix was at odds with the American press, as different outlets accused him of having ties to white supremacy. Simultaneously, he had also angered a growing community of left-leaning content creators online, which would become known as BreadTube. As a result, that part of the shoutout video was removed with the YouTube editor, and on December 17th, he would respond to the outrage explaining that he was unaware of the jokes that ER was putting into his videos and had no bad intentions. He also criticized the way that the video was framed by journalists.
One of them featured Nazi imagery and jokes, and that's why I decided to remove him from the list and edit it out of the video. I think most people would be pretty sensible about a mistake like this, keeping all these things in mind. But oh no, that's not the case. It led to an absolute barrage on Twitter. I don't think I've gotten this much attention on Twitter since the Wall Street Journal thing. They must have really thought they had me this time. I don't know, people making it was insane claims about me.
And as we see from the comments section, his fans were once again ignited in support as they didn't want to see one of their favorite creators painted to be someone he is not, especially given how things had gone in early 2017, almost 2 years prior. But this also meant that a few more malicious members of his fan base decided to, once again, partake in some hacking. The same day that the video was released, an unknown individual managed to hack an affiliate site of the Wall Street Journal, seemingly as retribution for what had happened prior. They published a statement to the site reading, "Wall Street Journal public apology to PewDiePie," with the author listed being T-Series. The statement goes on to encourage people to subscribe to PewDiePie in the fight against T-Series to help him reach 80 million subscribers. Ultimately, this immediate issue was much more short-lived than the previous conflicts, but it would be an important stepping stone in his next smearing by the press. With the backlash out of the way for the time being, Felix could resume his race to the top, or rather, his race to not be in second. By the new year, the subscriber gap between PewDiePie and T-Series was over 1.3 million, and YouTube Rewind 2018, Jaden Animations also placed Easter eggs of Bitch Lasagna and Sub to PewDiePie in her section, meaning that although Felix was not in the actual Rewind, he remained there in spirit and Jaden showed her support. As time passed, there were multiple close calls, but the community was still making an effort to keep the leader of the 9-year-old army at number 1. In February of 2019, Felix streamed himself playing Fortnite in an effort to raise more awareness. The stream garnered 300,000 live viewers at its peak, being one of the most viewed streams on YouTube of all time. The next day, Mr. Beast answered the call once again by pulling his most ridiculous stunt yet. The Super Bowl is widely known as the most watched televised event every year. In an effort to capitalize on that, Mr. Beast purchased a number of seats by the end zone so that some of his friends could wear shirts spelling out the phrase "Sub to PewDiePie." This was then seen on television across the country by about 110 million people. The official ESPN Twitter account even unknowingly tweeted out a picture in support of the effort, with the message displayed clearly on the right side of the tweet. While Felix was close to being passed at this point, during the Super Bowl, the subscriber difference between the channels surged from 50,000 to 300,000. But it was during a sub purge that T-Series would pass PewDiePie momentarily, on February 22nd. The same day, an episode of Meme Review was posted in collaboration with Tesla CEO Elon Musk, getting more attention on his channel and giving him a boost in subs again. On a related note, someone even went to the effort of defacing a World War II memorial in New York City with the slogan. It's at this point where the darkest controversy to ever befall the PewDiePie channel would occur. And this time it had nothing to do with any of his own actions, but rather that of an unhinged individual who perpetrated a tragedy. On March 15th of 2019, a 28-year-old man began a live stream from Christchurch, New Zealand. During that live stream, he entered a mosque with a number of firearms, opening fire on the innocent people inside. He then got into his car and drove 5 kilometers to another mosque, where he entered and did the same. By the end of the massacre, he had killed 51 people and was eventually arrested by the authorities. So what does this have to do with Felix? Well, as the massacre began, the perpetrator uttered the words, "Subscribe to PewDiePie." This was then seen by anyone who had a copy of the stream online, as well as law enforcement. And naturally, word about it soon got out to the world at large, given the severity of the massacre. Felix responded on Twitter by saying, "Just heard news of the devastating reports from New Zealand. I feel absolutely sick having my name uttered by this person. My heart and thoughts go out to the victims, families, and everyone affected by this tragedy." And you would think that would be the end of it, but it was not. Before long, it was reported that the shooter had left behind a manifesto outlining his beliefs and actions, and it was discovered that the attack was not random. In fact, it was racially motivated. The Daily Mail reported shortly thereafter on the event, specifically pointing out that the attacker had named Felix, before going on to describe how Felix had been criticized for his use of racial slurs and his more offensive jokes. To go a step further, a number of people even specifically said that Felix had played a role in the attack happening. Some individuals claimed that he had inspired him, while others said he contributed to internet radicalization, which received heavy backlash from his fans and associates. Whether or not there is any truth to the idea of the internet pushing people to the far right en masse is unknown. But what is known is that this only further formed a rift between the people in the YouTube community and those considered more mainstream journalists. While Felix would release another song about T-Series in March, it was almost instantly blocked in the country of India due to a court order by the Delhi court. While the song was seemingly done in jest, the court deemed it to be defamatory, disparaging, insulting, and offensive. The court even accused him of being racist, something that most viewers of the video, including myself, would disagree with. Even with that being the case, it was clear to Felix that the movement had gotten a bit out of hand. He was so recognizable at the time that he had a hard time going out in public at all without being spotted, recounting an incident with Cinnamon Toast Ken where he and Marzia were mobbed while trying to get some McDonald's.
Me and Marzia drove back home and it was really late and we were super hungry and we drove to this McDonald's drive-thru and we're like, we just want to eat. We don't want to be recognized, and all these kids come up to us and one of the moms goes like, "Can you take a photo with my son?" And I was just like, sorry, I'm just trying to have dinner.
Between the multiple hackings, a defacing of a monument, as well as being named during a massacre, he knew that it was time to throw in the towel. So, on April 28th, 2019, Felix ended the "Subscribe to PewDiePie" meme.
To have my name associated with something so unspeakably vile has affected me in more ways than I let shown. I just didn't want to address it right away, and I didn't want to give the terrorists any more attention. I didn't want to make it about me, because I don't think it has anything to do with me. To put it plainly, I didn't want hate to win, but it's clear to me now the subscribe to PewDiePie movement should have ended then.
1 month later, T-Series officially beat PewDiePie in the race to hit 100 million subscribers. Thus, the end of an era was set in stone. With the T-Series chapter over with, Felix could now spend time once again progressing as a creator. Earlier in the year, on April 9th, PewDiePie signed an exclusive streaming deal with alternative platform DLive. He had previously expressed interest in a YouTube alternative, with this site now serving as a good avenue for him to generate some revenue and notoriety outside of the YouTube landscape. Simultaneously, his mere presence on DLive would increase their average viewership due to how big his name is. He said, "I think it's cool to have a creator-based website that actually puts creators first. I'm really excited to be live streaming again." And, as time passed, he also made an effort to make a bit of a return to form for his channel. While he had always had gaming as a major part of his appeal, over the last few years he had posted noticeably less gaming content. In June of that year, however, he took a renewed interest in the massively popular Minecraft.
I have not played Minecraft properly in ever. I played the game when it was in alpha. That's right, hipster notch supporter. I think a lot of it has changed. I'm not sure. Okay, let's just jump into it.
This video would receive almost 50 million views alone, joining a wave of renewed interest in the game, which was already being played by creators like JSchlatt and Call Me Carson. The month that this video was posted would prove to be his most successful in years, as the return to form drew in new and old viewers alike. He pulled more than 570 million views that month alone. While I think it would be facetious to say that he alone revived the game, he certainly played a part in the community wanting to discuss and play it again, with vidIQ finding that he was the top creator for the keyword at the time. He would also go on to play with rising creators like Call Me Carson, promoting their channels with the game and no doubt helping their own stardom. Furthermore, he continued his trend of charitable activities, helping to raise awareness and money for the cause of planting trees across the globe with the Save the Trees initiative. It's worth noting that he also donated $69,420 of his own money. Classy. In his personal life, in August of that year, he married his longtime girlfriend Marzia, showcasing the event on a video on his channel. I did not tear up while watching the video. The PewDiePie channel finally reached the esteemed milestone of 100 million subscribers. And finally, in achievements, Felix made his return to the inaugural YouTube Rewind as the year closed, although this installment was noticeably unceremonious and heavily disliked by those who saw it. That being said, even with all of these achievements under his belt, there were also multiple controversies and unfortunate events worth discussing. Sadly, on August 28th, it was announced that Dylan the Hacker had passed away. Though the cause of death was not made public, many, including Felix, did make it public that they were saddened by his passing and that he would be missed. Gone, but not forgotten. On September 10th, Felix announced that he regretted his edgy past, feeling it could have contributed to some negative attitudes online and that he wanted to make up for it. To show that he was being good faith about this, he vowed to donate $50,000 to the Anti-Defamation League. The ADL is an organization which, on their website description, is listed as an international Jewish organization dedicated to stopping the defamation of the Jewish people.
I'm donating $50,000 to Anti-Defamation League, which is an organization that fights bigotry and prejudice in all its forms.
However, many in Felix's audience were upset about this, saying that the ADL is a potentially harmful organization and criticizing his decision. As a result, on September 12th, he canceled the donation altogether, having changed his mind about the potentially harmful implications that the organization could have.
When I uploaded the video talking about the charity, it was very brief and people could tell something was off. The whole internet just didn't believe it. Like, why is he donating to this charity? Look at his face. Full conspiracy mode. It was very interesting to watch that unfold.
He also said that before his pledge, he hadn't done a lot of research into the organization's past. If you watch his video discussing this, he also noticeably had a cross on the collar to his jacket, which to many resembled the Iron Cross, an old Germanic symbol often used as a hate symbol due to its use by a certain party from wartime Germany. As a result, a few left-leaning content creators criticized Felix, saying that he was pandering to the far right by pledging and then unpledging.
This is a clever reference to the fact that when PewDiePie said he was going to not give that money to the ADL, he was wearing a jacket with the Iron fucking Cross on its collar.
Felix refuted this by saying that the jacket he was wearing was actually created by a Georgian, the country, not the state, fashion designer, and had nothing to do with any ideology. This would also lead to the New York Times publishing an article about Felix questioning his sincere political beliefs, stacking all of his controversies behind each other once again. During this calendar year, he would also gain some attention from the international community, in particular, China. In a video, Felix joked about the physical similarities between Winnie the Pooh and the country's president. And following this, he claimed that people in China were unable to see his videos. China as a country is known for its harsh censorship, not being fond of people disrespecting the government, even in a lighthearted manner. As a result, the theory seemed plausible, but this was later refuted by an article from the BBC. In China, the general rule for censorship is, if something is too violent, sexualized, or goes against the government's message, it will be banned from the country. The government has certainly not demanded that the search engine erase mentions of Pewdiepie. A search for his name still returns more than 8 million results. On a final note for that year, Felix's third game, Pewdiepie, I can't believe I'm reading this shit. Why the fuck did he name the game this? Was rejected from the Apple App Store for being too disgusting. And while it may seem hard to believe, Pewdiepie aside, this would mark the end of Felix's large-scale controversies where he was at odds with the entire press at once. During 2020, he once again made a number of statements saying that he was pretty worn out from it all and felt that he had been growing over time, which, to his credit, seems to be true. On January 17th, Felix announced that he would be going on break from his channel for a short time, saying that while he loves to make videos, for the sake of his own health, he felt that he needed a much-deserved break from his Sigma grind set. He returned a month later on February 21st, continuing to make his usual content and seemingly being refreshed after some time off. On May 4th, Felix left the site DLive to sign an exclusive streaming deal with YouTube. On his streams, he frequently pulls upwards of 100,000 live viewers, so it makes sense that the website would want him on their platform. Typically, exclusive streaming deals entail a large sum of money as well, and while we don't know exactly how much he made here, with how many people he draws to the site, we can estimate that he was paid a pretty penny for the exclusivity. As of the time of its signing, however, he had over 800,000 followers on DLive, users who no doubt only made their accounts there, at least at first, to watch his streams. Many have speculated that this was a large financial hit for the website, no doubt driving down their traffic on average. It seems that despite many alternatives to mainstream platforms popping up in the past few years, ultimately, they failed to take a sizable chunk out of monopolies run by Google and Amazon. During 2020, Schulberg also expressed a lot of remorse for his past actions and the controversies that he got into. In a podcast interview with the New York Times, Felix said that he was sick of the endless controversy that many had come to know him for.
I was pretty, what's the right word? Irresponsible about it. I don't think I really looked at too much of the consequences.
On June 4th, Felix raised over $100,000 for Black Lives Matter efforts during a charity livestream, also contributing $10K of his own money to the cause. In regards to the topic in general, he wrote that, "So many people are rightfully angry and want to make things right. I think we all wish there was an easy answer and have been struggling with how to participate and make a positive change." He posted on his community tab that he was glad that his audience had come together to help with the cause, and that he was very grateful with his position in life. A few days later, he went on his channel to say that he wanted to avoid controversy, with his hindsight clearly being 2020.
Why is Pewdiepie in the center of so many controversies? Because I've always had a very light-hearted take on serious topics, which was clearly someone that is as popular as I am should have seen that coming. It was inevitable. Does that make it right? Probably not, but that doesn't make me completely blameless either. I've been very reckless and not careful, and I paid the price for it. But now, no more controversy. Only epic.
But these efforts did not please everyone. During the summer of 2020, his Spotify was leaked, where it was revealed that he was a fan of many hyperpop artists. Some of these artists expressed that they did not want him to listen to their music, expressly stating that they feel their art is not for everyone. And this brings us to the final event of note, or rather, series of events of note. In a similar fashion to the rise of T-Series, the channel Cocomelon was growing extremely fast throughout 2019 and 2020. The channel is purely made for children, with animated nursery rhyme videos being posted every day. Felix, taking note of this, acknowledged the channel and began poking fun at it in his videos.
There's been another threat lurking in the shadows, hidden from plain sight. I'm talking, of course, about Cocomelon Nursery rhymes!
CoComelon was extremely close to passing Felix, so after some light jests, he decided to make a diss track about them, similar to what he did with T-Series, wherein he also insulted the popular rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine. However, shortly after its upload, it was removed by YouTube, citing rules regarding cyberbullying and child safety. YouTube's team decided to remove the video because it contained imagery that was inappropriate for children, despite looking like it was made for kids and for creating content that harms the YouTube community by persistently inciting hostility between creators for financial gain, according to official tweets. The second rule is in line with YouTube's policy focused on preventing creator-on-creator harassment. The company's statement also acknowledges that while criticism is allowed and diss tracks are allowed in certain cases, this video crossed the line. The removal did not result in a channel strike for Shellberg's channel, but further violations of YouTube's policies may result in a channel strike, according to the company. Our policies prohibit content that leads to repeated patterns of harassment on and off platform, a YouTube spokesperson told The Verge. Following a review, we've removed the video in question for violating these policies because they had an effect of encouraging abusive fan behavior. Felix did not try to heavily contest this because, in his own words, he does not really care about CoComelon and was simply having some fun. And that brings us to the present day. Throughout the last decade, Felix has changed a lot. Every few years, he seems to evolve his content and personality in a significant way. In 2012, he was known for his loud is funny approach to comedy, mostly appealing to a child audience. But as time passed, he grew discontent with the reputation he had accumulated. By 2016, he was mostly a comedy channel, focused on ironic humor and satirizing the YouTube landscape, including his former self. By 2018, he had become a fully self-aware commentary channel, discussing the news of the day in an easy-to-digest format, while still retaining his comedic roots. Today, his channel consists of a variety of different types of videos, from gaming to reactions to discussing current events. He has fully cemented himself as one of, if not the most important single person in online video content, all while remaining relevant for 10 years. He connects through his audience through a number of avenues, showing his consistent appreciation for them, and through his various controversies, we've also seen him mature as a person, being respected today by almost all fellow content creators. PewDiePie is the essential YouTuber. Though he has done multiple high-profile business deals and continues to successfully monetize his content, he also rejects the legacy media, fighting against their bad practices and showing that the old world press truly is a dying form of entertainment, instead wanting to represent a newer wave of independent creators who operate in a less cynical and more genuine manner. It is ultimately, for all of those reasons, that PewDiePie has managed to maintain his empire. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.